The Farm Bill extension expired on September 30th. Now what? We're going to talk about that, plus the dock workers strike and how that could impact Arkansas agriculture, all in today's episode of the Arkansas AgCast, which starts right now.
You're listening to the Arkansas AgCast, where we discuss the latest news, trends, and issues impacting Arkansas farmers and ranchers. Our show is brought to you by the Arkansas Farm Bureau Federation and hosted by Jason Brown and John Nickman.
Hello, happy Thursday.
We're back.
You're so excited about that.
Man, it's Thursday. Why wouldn't you be?
I know. This week has been a long week.
I look forward to this moment every week. As soon as it's over, it's all I can think about for the next 7 days.
For the next one.
Yeah,
oh, really?
Yeah.
Gosh, that is dedication.
It's just the company I'm in.
Yeah. Well, you see that dripping? That's a sarcasm.
Oh,
What? I've never heard that word before.
I got wet over here.
Palpable, as they say.
You can almost smell it. Huh?
Yeah, exactly. My goodness. You know what it is? He's upset we put him to work earlier.
True.
Yeah.
He. You know what he loves more than anything?
What's that?
A last-minute media interview.
Yeah. You know, I would ask him how he knows that, but he's always the one that brings those to me. Yeah. But there was a lot of last-minute things that hit this morning, too.
Yeah, man, it's been busy.
It has been.
Just the two things that we opened, teased the open show with, have kept us running all week, plus a myriad of other things that we'll end up talking about next week.
Yeah, I think we talk about that all the time here at work, at least maybe not on the podcast, that you have your normal routine, you know, what you do and day in and day out at work. And some days, it's not every day, it's not every week, but some days it'll just drop. And then everything you were doing, we got to put that away for a second.
Yeah.
Or all day.
Yeah.
That's
you
right.
know, and it's all hands on deck sometimes. But that's the way it goes. It's the nature of the job.
Poor Brian, he has to put up with me way more than you do. And yesterday
Yeah.
I walked in his office, I just looked at him, I said, I'm tired. He kind of laughed. He said, yeah, me too. I feel it.
Yeah, poor guy.
I know it. It's. There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on in the world. Goodness gracious. Obviously, conflicts overseas.
Really increased.
Yeah, the harvest here on the home side for a lot of folks, and we were talking right before we came on, but the hurricanes, the hurricane Helene, and the absolute
Tremendous
devastation,
amount of devastation and damage. Just hard to look at the pictures that have been coming in, and the amount of water moving in between those mountains and those valleys and those dams that aren't being able to. They're way past capacity. They're flowing over the top of them.
Yeah.
And then I was talking to somebody the other day that I think Jared Garrett was telling me it was like 250 something odd chicken houses are gone.
Wow.
In that area where it hit. I don't know what state or states he specifically talked about. And then there's a lot of specialty crops over there in those areas too, as well as row crop that have just been wiped out.
Yeah.
You know? And that's an industry-wide damage. But think about the people and the lives that have been impacted.
Yeah.
For the worse.
In between, and really, the one of the harsh realities of it all is this is a hurricane that hit the panhandle of Florida, and all that devastation is inland in North Carolina. I mean, that's unbelievable.
The other thing I think about is like that water is covering 10 and 20 feet of roads. So if you live at the top of one of those mountains, where are you going?
Yeah.
Right.
You can't go to the grocery store. You know, at least we have a natural disaster here. We can at least go to the grocery store. You know, you'd think so, whether it be a tornado or what, if it's still there. But you can't even get off the mountain.
Yeah.
It's like being on an island.
Yeah.
That scares me. And all those videos of the houses just floating down the water.
Yeah. It's awful thoughts with those folks.
Absolutely.
The reporter that came and talked to you this morning, we asked her, hey, what else are you working on today? And she said she was talking with Red Cross was trying to recruit volunteers in Arkansas to travel out to North Carolina and help and provide assistance. So hopefully that works out.
Yeah, absolutely.
They get what they need. Let's see. It is officially October.
It is.
So I will tell you what else is happening. And this came up with a topic we're going to talk about today and kind of was, hit me in the face. But people are also starting to think about the holidays.
True.
And plan for the holidays, which is unbelievable when you think about it. It'll be Thanksgiving before we know it.
Yeah.
Of course, the Super Bowl there after that, the Christmas.
Super Bowl of holidays.
Super Bowl of holidays, I'm sorry.
Well,
the real Super Bowl is a ways off. I know we talk about football a lot on here, but...
Yeah. Christmas for sure. Like the 3 holiday stretch here.
Yeah. So
4 if you count New Year's.
I told y'all we were going to talk about Thanksgiving Day, and you both kind of looked at me like I was crazy. I'll tell you why we're going to talk about Thanksgiving in a second.
Actually.
But John said, what, are we just skipping over Halloween altogether? Mm-hmm. And no, we're gonna come back and with some Halloween. We were just kind of discussing some maybe special plans for Halloween on the show.
But there's a reason why you want to bring this up today.
There is a reason. So y'all know I always go and look at sort of what's going on, what's maybe some interesting or some fun stuff we could talk about as part of the show. In addition to all the news we cover.
Yeah.
So yesterday I'm looking this up and I'm like, okay, we're recording on Thursday, October 3rd. I'm going to look at that day in history. Mm-hmm. And there's some stuff. There's always some pretty mundane stuff on there. But I was stopped in my tracks when I read that October 3rd, 1789 was the very first Thanksgiving. And that was proclaimed by George Washington.
My boy.
Back then. He's actually kind of a regular character on the show. There's a couple episodes we talked.
My boy.
That's wild. But we talked about him having wooden teeth. And you talked about no term limits. And we talk about him a lot, I guess.
Amen.
But yeah, so, and not only that, but Thanksgiving was on October the 3rd for almost 65 years. For over 60 years, it was on October the 3rd. Is that not wild?
That is crazy.
Yeah, so 64 years later, Abraham Lincoln finally declared Thanksgiving Day would be the last Thursday in November.
Interesting.
Okay?
Another great one.
So that's, we got all the hits. All the Hall of Famers coming out today, don't we?
Just crushing it.
So what's funny, why, any guesses on why Washington declared the first Thanksgiving? And he really called it a day of thanks. I think we have molded it into its common name.
I don't know. Was he thanking his partners in the Revolutionary War?
Well, it was tied to the Revolutionary War. He declared that the necessity for such a day sprung from God's care for Americans prior to the Revolution and his assistance to them in achieving independence and helping establish a constitutional government. So that was Thanksgiving's genesis.
Yeah.
From George Washington way back then. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
And then, however, the drama continues for Thanksgiving. Y'all like this? Now you understand why I wanted to bring this, because it's not just October 3rd. Mm-hmm. This is fascinating. In 1939, the last Thursday in November fell on the last day of the month. Uh-oh. We got a problem.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Got a problem. Concerned that the shortened Christmas shopping season, there we go, 1939, that consumerism is taking control.
We've gone past the industrial age. Now we're on to...
Oh, wait a minute. Black Friday's in December? I don't think so.
Marketing and advertising has taken hold of that.
I don't know if they had Black Friday in 1939, but let's pretend they did. Concerned that the shortened Christmas shopping season might dampen the economic recovery, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt,
check mark again.
How about it? Issued
then just knew what was going on with
presidential proclamation moving Thanksgiving to the second to last Thursday of November. Okay, so October 3rd, last Thursday in November, and now the second to last Thursday in November. As a result of that proclamation, 32 states issued similar proclamations. Okay. While 16 states refused to accept the change and proclaimed Thanksgiving to be the last Thursday in November. They put their feet down.
All right.
Yeah.
Hey man, it's in American blood to fight for what you believe in.
For 2 years, 2 days were celebrated as Thanksgiving. The president and part of the nation celebrated the second to last Thursday, while the rest of the country celebrated the next week. That's pretty wild.
That is very wild.
I would like to know the reasoning. Like,
I don't know. I guess
the other part of the country, why did they were like, nope.
Well, I mean, obviously,
Absolutely
division
not.
was a commonplace back then, well, as much as it is now. But I think they were just like, hey, we don't care if we've got more shopping days or not.
You're not going to tell us what to do.
Yeah. And my shopping's done. I'm not doing this.
Hey, I'm over here making butter as gifts, baking bread. Okay, I'm not worried about going to the whatever the mall looked like in 1939.
Yeah.
No, I just thought. So here I was thinking, okay, October 3rd is the first Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I just would have assumed that.
That's pretty neat. We should talk about that since it's October 3rd, and then I get into this whole other. We may rehash some of that around Thanksgiving, but
Yeah.
I like Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
I do too.
I do too. It's great.
My family goes on a little trip that week with my parents. It's the only time we travel with my parents throughout the year, and it's a good time to sort of relax and take a break before really everything gets ramped up.
I think we're talking about doing the same. I don't know what we're going to do yet, though.
Yeah.
So
We hit the great outdoors for our trip, but
that'd be fun.
It's nice. We do a little trout fishing. We kind of just take it easy,
Yeah, eat good,
Yeah.
lay around.
But anyway, I don't want to cover all the Thanksgiving stuff now because we've got plenty of time. And like you said, we don't want to just skip over Halloween. Like that doesn't exist. That's a pretty fun holiday. But I did want to share that.
Yeah.
As random as it may be, I guess. What else is going on?
How about your fantasy football team?
We won this week.
Did you?
Surprisingly,
Congratulations.
you came to me on Friday and said, "How's it going to go?" On Monday.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm going to lose. We're both playing tonight. I'm playing. My opponent and I both had players playing. I said we're set to lose, and then they had a player get hurt, injured during the game.
I don't think there's too many people, if any, in the league that are very optimistic about their chances of winning. If you ask them Thursday, like today, those first games tonight, you think you're going to win this week? Probably not.
Yeah.
But then half the league, if not more, is going to have to win, or half the league will
Half
have
the
to
league
win.
will have to win. Yeah.
Yeah. So now, if I go and ask you on Sunday or Monday, you're like, man, I might have a chance.
I didn't think I had a chance, and neither did they. I think they had me at a 20% chance of winning or something like that. But I pulled it off thanks to an injury. Hope A-Chain's okay,
Hey,
but.
Luck helps.
Yeah. I did see you soliciting bribes from players. So I don't know.
I just gave a little information on what would help if this particular player is number one in our league right now and hadn't lost a match, and he asked if the season could be ended today.
Right.
And name him winner. And I was like, well, if given that you're 4-0. The chances of anybody voting for you or your stance at the moment is very low. And if that is something you want to pursue, I would suggest you use bribes as a really high risk, high reward tool.
Yeah,
to buy votes.
Yeah, whatever it takes, I guess.
I did not mean that towards me, but if one of those like Oreo pie cake things that he talked about a few weeks ago showed up in my office.
Yeah,
I could give him my vote, but it wouldn't matter. Nobody else is going to vote for it.
But you would vote for him.
So you're saying you're for sale.
100% he is. I'll tell you what else
everybody
he is.
has the same opportunity to bribe me. I mean, it's not fair.
Every man has his price.
Yeah, you have the opportunity. It's equal opportunity here.
He's also proud. They start off every media interview like, tell us your name and your title. And he's like, John McMahon, director, economics. Commodity regulatory affairs, like row crops, especially crops, and also Arkansas Farm Bureau Fantasy Football League Commissioner. He like wanted them to put that on the screen.
You left out half of what was actually in that situation. I gave my title, and somebody else in the room was like, "Oh, he's also our commissioner for Fantasy Football League." And I was like, "Yes, I am."
That's great.
I did own it.
You did. It was pretty fun. Anyway, I guess we better get down to some real work here. Like we said before, we've got a lot to cover today. We're going to talk about the dock worker strike. We're going to talk about the Ag Secretary being appointed to a national leadership role. The stocks and inventory numbers of existing stock, I guess, for corn and soybeans. And then what happens now that the Farm Bill extension is expired? And I think that's an important conversation. It may be surprising in some ways, I'll say. And you guys have written something that's helpful for this too. So we're going to cover all that here shortly. But before we do, let's talk about crop progress and quality this week. So the corn harvest is really on the down, not on the downhill side, but wrapping up. We were 95% done on Monday as of Monday's report. That's about a 5% jump over last week. If I had to guess, we'd do 5%, maybe even a little less between now and next week. So we should be done in the next week or two.
I don't see a lot of movement in that number.
Nah. At this point, it's probably just clean up whatever errors there are in reporting.
There's only 5% more movement that it can make.
Yeah, that's it. So the 5-year, though, is 88%, so we're still ahead of that. And this week last year was 90%. So like we said last week, we're starting to kind of catch up with last year's pace a little bit. We're about a week behind, though. Last year's progress in corn, and I think that's reflected in other crops too, or a week ahead rather. Rice harvest, 75% of the rice crop has been harvested, 10% more this week than last week. The 5-year average there is 69%. This week, last year we were at 78%, actually a little ahead of where we are today. I don't know if you've heard this, but I heard this at an annual meeting Tuesday night that let us not be fooled. But we've heard bumper crop, record crop for at every turn this harvest. Yeah. And what I was told is let us not be fooled by the yields in rice because the milling is really, really not good. Low milling.
The little bit of time I was working in a mill after school, hybrid rice was just terrible about that.
Yeah.
Like it'd break apart. It was real chalky. And it makes me think I would assume there's probably more hybrid rice out there now than there is conventional.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, so I wonder if that is still the issue or if it's like weather related. It could be weather related. But I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I just I thought that was interesting.
I thought we would. I was really hoping we'd be at least 80% on rice.
Yeah. Oh, progress. Yeah. Not yet. Soybean quality 66% good to excellent, holding steady since last week. 93% of the crop is coloring, with 81% dropping the leaves. 47% of the crop is harvested on beans, a 12% jump over last week. 5-year average is 29%. Last year we were at 42%. So again, with that running about a week ahead theme. Looking at cotton, 61% good to excellent. Another quality drop since last week. So cotton is kind of struggling there. 96% of bowls are opening, 21% harvested, nearly a 15% jump from last week. 5-year average is 11%, 10% this week last year on cotton. So we're double where we were last year and the 5-year. And then peanut quality is at 69% good to excellent. That's a more than 10% drop over last week. I'm really wondering about that. Heath, text us and tell us what's up with the peanut quality.
Call in.
Call in. Because we don't. That's interesting to see. We haven't seen that on any other crop this year. A 10% drop week over week.
I don't remember seeing that last year.
Peanut harvest is 12% done, with another 41% dug. So we're moving along there. Let's talk real quick about dry spots starting to pop up in the state. Looking at Faulkner, Conway, Perry, Logan, Yale, Sebastian, and Scott counties. couple of really dry spots, like close to 0% ground moisture in Jefferson, Nevada, and Ouachita counties. I saw one of the TV stations, their weather app, they sent out an alert last night that said we're starting to see the wildfire risk ramp up, and we're going to start seeing some county burn bans. I didn't look and see if we've gotten any issued yet, but
we were up around like Russellville, Danville area yesterday, and you could even just tell driving up there that it was dry. Like,
it was dry.
I know trees are changing color, but it just everything looked dry.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to explain it.
Well, to your point, one of the things that trees need to change color and to really show out is moisture. And I feel like the last couple of falls have been kind of stunted, for lack of a better term, in that realm, because we've had such dry late summers, especially in September's. Speaking of dry and wet weather, as of Wednesday afternoon, the Mississippi River was at, get this, plus 5 feet, almost 6 feet.
So it did not raise 5.89 feet. It is now above.
It is above
0. Yeah.
Yep.
That's good.
So that's in line with what we reported for the forecast this week. We said we were probably going to come above that low water line the first weekend in October. So I think we're there, if not there, a little bit early. But the good news is that the river's forecast to stay above the low level mark through at least October 16th.
Okay.
Of course, there's no rain in the forecast, at least for here in Central Arkansas, through October the 14th that I can see. So we'll have to keep an eye on things, because that could deteriorate quickly.
Well,
and I have not looked at Iowa or Illinois weather, because that can help the river too.
Push those barges while you can.
That's it, man. So there's a look at what harvest and crop quality is doing right now. You want to get on into the news?
Yeah, I got a question though.
Okay.
When do you stop watering your yard now that we're talking about moisture?
Well, funny you mention that.
I was staring at mine yesterday.
I turned mine back on yesterday to water this morning.
I didn't want to hear that.
Yeah. Well, here's the problem: is that I just it's looking good. We got all the leaves cleaned up. It's still pretty green because of that rain that we had earlier this month or last month. So I'm thinking I might ride it out a little bit longer. I don't want to.
They say once you start to see it brown a little bit, it's already too late.
Yeah. That's why I turn mine on, because I'm like, look, I can do this or not, but it's all still green right now. So
I was in the backyard the other day, and I keep my sprinkler kind of under the awning or whatever. It's like a tripod sprinkler. And I was like, I think I'm done.
Yeah.
I don't put it up until season's over with.
Yeah.
And as soon as I fold it up, put it in the shop, I was like, I think I just jinxed myself.
Oh, yeah.
I think I'm going to, And then yesterday I was looking at it, I was like, I'm going to have to water again.
Yeah, mine looks good. So I'm like, well, we're going to keep that train rolling. And I feel like I've had a good, last month. I feel like I've had some patches fill in.
Yeah.
Not that this is the turf podcast, but, and I'm like, I want to keep that going. Maybe it likes this cooler weather better. I don't know. So,
welcome to the Yard Management AgCast.
Yeah, exactly.
I had a neighbor years ago that, when we got to the very 1st of August, he just quit watering everything and was just wanting his yard to die so that he didn't have to mow anymore.
Yeah.
And he saw me out watering one day. He's like, man, I quit that 3 weeks ago. I'm done. I just want it to die.
I generally give up, A, because I'm sick of paying the water bill, and B, because I'm just like, I'm fighting a losing battle. Why am I sinking this into? But like I said, I feel like I'm on. Anyway, I'm not even going to go.
Yeah, I know.
We're watering. We're watering.
Last month.
That's all I'm saying.
Well, all right, let's get into this.
All right, let's do it. Let's do it.
Well, it seems like we are, we were talking about this potential impact of a rail strike out of Canada just the other day. Unfortunately, that was resolved fairly quickly, but over the last few days, we've been following the port worker strike along the U.S. East and Gulf Coast. Although I hope this is resolved just as quickly as the rail worker strike was, I haven't seen much movement in that direction as of today, but keep in mind it's only been, 4 days?
Yeah.
So the International Longshoremen, this is just a little bit of background of what the strike is and where it's located. So the International Longshoremen's Association Union, or the ILA, and the United States Maritime Alliance, or the USMX, have been in negotiations for a new 6-year contract until Monday at midnight when the union officially went on strike after negotiations broke down. The strike has blocked everything from food to automobile shipments across several ports from Maine to Texas. Pretty big swath. Depending on how long the strike lasts, this could cost our economy billions of dollars, jobs, and also increase inflation, which, we don't want any more of that.
No.
So our concern here at Farm Bureau and the situation is, how will this impact agriculture and consumers alike? And like Jason said, we talked to a reporter today about this very thing. American Farm Bureau economist Daniel Munch, who I source information from regularly, thank you, Danny, published a great article regarding potential impacts. According to the article, in 2023, about $122 billion worth of agricultural exports were transported through through ocean ports, and represented 70% of agricultural export value and 75% of the volume. The same ports received $110 billion worth of agricultural imports and representing a little over half of the import value. This shows or demonstrates just how important our ocean ports are to our country and our economy. The strangest or the strongest potential for impacts would be to containerized agricultural shipments representing about 30% of U.S. waterborne agricultural exports by volume. The other 70% is from raw, unprocessed commodities such as grain, oilseeds, pulses, rice, and animal feed. There seems to be little to no impact on this group since they are transported via specialized bulk carriers, and by that I mean the grains.
Okay.
Grains, like I said, oilseeds, pulses, rice, animal feed are not shipped in those big shipping containers. You see the big metal shipping containers. They're shipped in more large, huge vessels filling up the entire boat.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
The large bulk carriers are often not loaded and unloaded by operations where ILA union workers are employed. So it's very important to keep in mind. For the most part, that means Arkansas's row crop commodities currently won't be affected, but our poultry producers could be. About 80% of waterborne poultry exports could be impacted. Losing access to international markets could cause lower prices for poultry producers. Also, this in turn could decrease poultry production and negatively impact feed suppliers. So imagine if we can't sell that poultry to those international markets, we probably are going to stop producing as much poultry for the short term. And then in turn, another domino effect is that not as much feed is going to be sold too.
Right.
As I mentioned above, consumers might feel the impact of a strike as well. Over 75% of the bananas we eat here in the U.S. travel through ILA-handled ports. Several other food items such as cherries, canned food, hot peppers, and chocolate arrive at these ports, which could cause price increases and further delays. These are just a few of over 100 different food items that could be impacted due to this strike. As always, we will continue to monitor this situation and keep you updated as new developments come. But Danny's article you can find it at fb.org, and it's quite a bit longer than what I just gave. So he's got a lot more detail and a lot more statistics on the impact, and some really good infographics.
Oh, nice.
That kind of, if you're a visual learner like myself,
no doubt,
would help you color in between the lines.
So this is interesting to me. You talked about how, due to the type of container, that row crop commodities might not be. Yeah, I don't want to say might not be as impacted as soon.
Now I will say, this is I'm giving this as a view as how the state of Arkansas and the people who live here would be impacted.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
Now the article did give some more detail that soybeans, for example, about 6% of what's exported is put into containers. Now, when I say containers, you see that typical picture of an international boat that has several layers of stacked containers. That's what I'm talking about when I say containers. Grain is not particularly ever put into those containers.
Yeah, I'm thinking about like facilities on the river sometimes in Arkansas or even the Mississippi River. Like they just load the boat down.
They just load a boat, an empty hull. And these ILA workers aren't doing that job or working at those facilities.
Yeah.
Now that 6% I said that are being put in containers are usually coming out of the East Coast.
Okay.
And those are going to be impacted because ILA workers do handle those containers
over there. Okay.
Yeah.
But you said something that I thought was interesting too on the when we were doing this interview with KRK earlier today, and that really was, look, when one link in the supply chain goes down, there's an opportunity for it to cause havoc. You
look at whether it be the pandemic or other strikes or other issues that we've had in the country. I mean, what was it last year? It was drought. The Mississippi River, the Panama Canal, terrorist activity, and the Suez Canal. That is how things get moved around the world. And our country, honestly, is one of the biggest consumers of goods in the world. And as you can tell with these numbers, over half of what we consume or buy is from other countries.
Yeah.
So if it just takes one logistical operation in that supply chain, all of a sudden you don't get what you want, right? Or if you do, it's at a limited supply at a very high price.
So I think what I hear you saying is, one way or another, this is going to impact consumers, farmers, ranchers. I mean, one of the points that Jake Cartwright made when we were talking about this the other day is that, what does for sure stand to be impacted by this is the frozen protein market. And what time of year is it? What do we talk about at the top of the show? The holiday season, when that production usually ramps up, beef, poultry, and pork because of demand, because of the holidays. You eat a lot of meat. So I think the timing on this thing, I mean, we aren't exactly we're not experts, but I think the timing on this thing is going to spell out a lot of how the impact.
Yeah. And another point to what Jake said is,
comes in
for those cuts of meat or parts or whatever they're sending over, they have to freeze first. All right. And they're in refrigerated containers or shipping containers, whatnot. The longer they sit in those shipping containers frozen and they're having to keep them cold is increasing the price of that movement, right?
Yeah.
And then, so how long does the consumer in a different country say, all right, we don't want to pay we're not willing to buy that item for that price anymore.
Right.
They're going to find somebody else.
Yeah.
And I mean, the U.S. Meat Export Council or Federation, I can't remember the last term, but they've been dealing with export issues all year too.
Yeah.
So this is just another opportunity. And then what if they say, hey, well, we can't afford to keep these cold anymore sitting here at this dock?
Yeah.
And they just turn it off.
Yeah.
It's a perishable item. All it's going to rot.
Yeah, for sure. I read an article, just as we wrap up, from Reuters that talked about coffee. They said coffee is going nowhere.
Yeah.
From the import perspective, when it hits the dock down there, it's going nowhere. And they quoted an executive from Westrock Coffee in Conway in that Reuters story about that. So, I mean, you may see, like you said, bananas. I mean, this has a potential to have some COVID level supply chain impacts if it goes on and on and on.
Yeah, anything you can think of that's coming in from a different country, fruits, vegetables, clothing, electronics, cars, adult beverages, you name it.
Oh yeah,
that's going to be slowed down or stopped or for however long this is going to be going on.
European beer was one of the things in the list that American Farm Bureau talked about. Well, we'll keep an eye on it for sure. Hopefully it's resolved quickly.
Yeah, hopefully by this time next week we'll be like, hey, everything's good.
Everything's good, yeah. All right, our next story is a shout-out to return AgCast guest and general friend of the show, if I may say so, Arkansas Ag Secretary Wes Ward. Arkansas Secretary of Agriculture Wes Ward, has been elected president of the National Association of State Departments of Agriculture. During the organization's annual meeting, Ward is the first Arkansas Secretary of Agriculture to hold this position.
Wow.
His term as NASDA, as they call it, president, will last through September of next year. He's held several leadership roles with NASDA, including chairman of the Natural Resources and Environmental Committee and former president of the Southern Association of State Departments of Agriculture.
That was it.
That was the one you're thinking about. Now, probably no surprise to our farmer audience, but in case you did not know, agriculture is Arkansas's largest industry, contributing over $24 billion to the state's economy annually and providing 1 in every 7 jobs here in the state. Arkansas consistently ranks in the top 25 nationwide in the production of 16 different commodities. NASDA is a nonpartisan nonprofit association representing the elected and appointed commissioners, secretaries, and directors of the departments of agriculture in all 50 states and 4 U.S. territories. The organization enhances American food and agricultural communities through policy partnerships and public engagement, according to their press release. So congrats to Secretary Ward on
Way to go.
Being elected president of the National Association of State Departments of Agriculture.
It's nice to have some Arkansas representation there in the leadership role.
Yeah, it's great.
Nationally.
Great to see. And he's certainly the hardest working ag secretary I know. I'll say that.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, man.
Well, let's take a short break and hear about how you can keep rural roads safe in Arkansas.
All right.
Arkansas farmers and ranchers work 7 days a week. That means when you hit the road, you may be sharing it with farm equipment, especially if you're traveling along rural roads and county highways. Farm equipment moves slower than our pickup trucks and minivans. They may not have the safety lights and turn signals of our family vehicles either. The trucks and tractors moving down the road need extra room to make turns, cross bridges, and move through intersections too. We all get in a hurry sometimes, but it's important that we all stay safe, no matter if we're headed to buy groceries or grow them. So next time you're cruising past a pasture or field, keep an eye out for farmers. They'll be sure to keep an eye out for you too. If we all work together, we can make sure Arkansas is cultivating safe roads.
Now, I got the next thing I want to talk about. We've talked about this before, but mainly just in passing or for giving various reasons why commodity prices are so low this year.
Sure.
Yes, corn and soybean stockpiles are the highest they've ever been. But how much exactly, and what does that future hold?
I smell supply and demand.
So, USDA had a report, so I'm going to copy from them here.
Okay.
As harvest began, prices were or had already fallen, and stockpiles from last year were a big reason for that, like I said earlier. The potential for another bumper crop this year projects those stockpiles to grow. The USDA gave their quarterly report Monday, where they said corn and soybean stocks on September 1st were 29% larger than at that same point in 2023.
Wow.
Corn accounted for 1.76 billion bushels, and soybeans totaled 342 million bushels currently in storage. Compared to the same point last year, where there were 1.36 million bushels of corn and 264 million bushels of soybeans. In 2023, farmers harvested the largest corn crop ever at 15.34 billion bushels and the 8th largest soybean crop at 4.17 billion bushels. However, usage has not kept up with increased production. This will mark the largest ending stockpile since 2019. For this year, USDA estimates the U.S. corn crop is at 15.19 or will be at 15.19 bushels, which would make it the second largest on record, and soybeans to hit 459 billion bushels, and turn being the biggest ever. This would also be the first time ever for back-to-back 15 billion bushel corn crops. The U.S. crops would add to a record-setting grain and soybean production globally, according to the International Grains Council. However, the council expects global grain stocks to fall to a 10-year low by the end of 2024-25 marketing season as demand grows. Now, on the other hand, USDA forecasts U.S. stockpiles to grow given increased production and no change to exports. The agency sees corn stockpiles will be 2.06 billion bushels, up 17% from September 1st, and soybean stockpiles to be 550 million bushels, making it the third largest ever when the 2025 crops are ready to be harvested.
Wow.
Yeah. So if you want to read this article from Successful Farming, where I kind of sourced a little bit of this information from, you can find it at agriculture.com. And one of the main points I wanted to bring up by reading this was that I don't see prices getting any better anytime soon.
Not with that much crop.
No.
And you know we're not going to go backwards on productivity.
No.
I mean, obviously there's weather events and things like that can cause that to happen. But I mean, really,
if you're
as
in
far as technology and production practices, agronomy goes, you're not going to go
depending
backwards.
on like the ground you're farming. You know, if you've got cotton or rice ground, if you've got really heavy soil for rice, real sandy stuff for cotton, you know, you could increase what you're farming. But think about like up in the north, Midwest area, they're only growing corn and soybeans,
right?
You know, and they're a big producer of both of those.
Yeah.
So, but I don't think rotational stuff or increasing. I don't see any farmer not growing soybeans. I could be wrong.
Yeah, no.
Or not growing corn.
Yeah.
I could be wrong about that too. But you can kind of combat that as an individual farmer a little bit. But it's not going to make that big of an impact on the national stage. Right.
It is interesting to see how far apart USDA is with U.S. stockpile forecast versus the International Grains Council. I mean, they obviously see some demand drive.
So I think
the Grains Council
the International Grains Council may be seeing other countries, maybe their production may go down.
Maybe
or maybe
so. There's talking about demand.
Maybe they're selling their stockpiles.
Yeah.
Like look at Brazil. They're leading us in not only the production of corn and soybeans, but also the export of them.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
maybe
that's interesting.
I don't know. They're just exchanging hands. They got to eat it.
Yeah, there's a lot of crop
or use it for something
coming out of fields right now. That's for sure. All right, last week we reported on Congress's passing of the continuing resolution to avoid a partial government shutdown. During our conversation, we mentioned the Farm Bill extension was still due to expire on this past Monday, September 30th. Well, Monday came and went with no action on the Farm Bill, which I think we saw coming.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at what the extension deadline means for farmers and government agencies. I'd like to note we're relying on some great information from the American Farm Bureau for this reporting. The existing Farm Bill, which is technically the 2018 Farm Bill, was living on borrowed time, as my grandfather might say. There was an extension passed in September 2023 that has kept the ag industry abiding by a 6-year-old bill. And then midnight on Monday came, and that extension expired. AFBF notes that in some ways, the 2018 Farm Bill has been insufficient for some time, mainly due to inflation and outdated reference prices. To be exact, the dollar is only worth 80% of what it was in 2018.
That's depressing.
So imagine getting 80 cents out of every dollar today.
You can't even buy a phone call with that anymore.
Stop it, Travis Tritt. The fixed reference prices from that Farm Bill, which define the help from USDA that farmers depend on in tough times, are only worth 80% of what they were in 2018, right? If we stick to this 80% mark. The value of the dollar set aside for research and innovation grants and for certain conservation programs, well, think about that. That's only worth 80% of what it was in 2018. The midnight deadline began a calendar of expirations, and this is important, letdowns and price support on steroids. Some programs were shut down immediately as their day-to-day authority depends on the Farm Bill. Among those are, and we'll tell you what those are, numerous international programs, including the Market Access and Foreign Market Development, Cooperator Trade Promotion Programs, and Food for Progress, the Bio-Based Markets Program and Bioenergy Program for Advanced Biofuels. These things are done since Monday. Several important animal health programs, programs for socially disadvantaged, veteran, young, and beginning farmers.
No, that's not good either.
The Specialty Crops Block Grants Program.
Man.
Yeah. And the National Organic Certification Cost Share Program. All of those were done at midnight on Monday. Goodness.
Man, it's going to be a year before.
Yeah, it's a challenge. So new enrollment in some conservation programs stopped at midnight. And some could continue for some of those programs, though, could continue for 7 more years. Most likely, thanks to the Inflation Reduction Act, which funds certain programs deemed climate-related in the legislation. Now, the American Farm Bureau listed out all these programs, but I picked one out that that we've talked about before, and that's EQIP.
Oh, yeah.
So EQIP's going to keep going because it was included in the Inflation Reduction. The funding was included in the Inflation Reduction Act. Otherwise, that may have been a different story. Something I don't know a lot about, but the dairy margin program will expire at the end of the calendar year without congressional action and revert to permanent law from the 1940s. I bet that's not good. Which requires the federal government to support milk at parity price. Many of the other details are incredibly complex, but I'll summarize by saying the much more impact of inaction on the Farm Bill will be seen at the end of the calendar year. Mm-hmm. And the reason is that's what the government considers the end of the current crop year. So there's a lot of these elements of the Farm Bill that will, or that go to the end of the crop year. They didn't go away with the expiration of the extension. Yeah. So December 31st, 2024 will spell a much different story for the Farm Bill than the one we're talking about today. I believe your team has written an article about this. Yep. I think the only place right now that's going to be is in the press, the Farm Bureau press. So if you get the press, look for it. I think Brandy Carroll was the author there. If you want more information on the Farm Bill and the extension deadline that passed without action, certain to reach out.
Yeah,
certainly
we may put this in our division updates too.
Oh, that'd be good.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think that'd be helpful. So there's that.
Boy, we need a Farm Bill.
We need a Farm Bill, buddy.
Real bad.
Congress is in recess until November 12th. I asked around this morning, and it doesn't sound like there's a plan to bring them back to do anything right now.
No, I'd rather they're going to wait till after the election.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm biased, but I have actually done work with that specialty crop block grant before.
Have you really?
So I know what it does. And it's made a lot of good progress to people's operations and education here in the state. And I'm sure the rest of these programs, like the Market Access and Foreign Market Development Coordinator, Trade Promotion Programs, blah, blah, blah. I just read an article this morning about the impacts that program's been making.
Well, look at what we're talking about, inventory, stocks, and trying to find the markets for that. I almost
gave the story. But I was like, this kind of contradicts what I'm about to say. So, But that's, I don't know. And we're sitting here talking about, in the last few years, we've talked about, not the last few years, the last year or so, we've been talking about export markets, and we need to find more. And, the ones we do have are just kind of, I wouldn't say stale, but they're not, we need more. Just, it's not enough at the moment, right?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, Farm Bureau is not only asking for a new Farm Bill, but asking for a bridge payment to help farmers immediately. I mean, we've been working on this issue a lot in the last couple of weeks, and we are truly at a situation where there's going to be a lot of farmers that go out of business.
Yes.
And the percentages and the numbers and the challenges with loaning some of this money based on what farmers' income has been, we won't go into that here.
Yeah.
Because, frankly, some of it's hearsay, a lot of it's hearsay.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, if it's half right, we're in for a wild ride.
I will put out a teaser for convention workshops. Farm Credit will be there, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And they're going to give a little information on kind of like how to prepare for next year.
How to borrow money when you didn't make any.
I don't know how long that workshop will be, but there's going to be something there for people that'll be interested.
Okay, good. That's good to know.
Yeah.
How about that?
We got
you should bring a teaser for some other workshops.
We got some other things up our sleeves that we've never done this year as a workshop committee, so I'm pretty excited.
It's going to be full.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Busy.
All right. Well, why don't we have some fun?
Yeah.
The wizard.
You're ready, aren't you?
What did you do?
Standing over his ball.
Oh, his ball. See, that's what.
I believe it also had a little bit of sneering to it.
Yeah, it did.
So, but it is time for
Stump the Host.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, buddy.
All right.
I have a proposal.
What's that?
If history's on that board, given how we open the show,
okay,
I think it ought to be a all history show.
All history?
And I don't do well with history.
All right,
I'm just feeling the.
Well,
I just like learning about history.
History is on the board.
Yeah, how about it?
So you want me to start with that?
It's technically your pick, so you don't have to go along
I'm
with this.
perfectly fine with that. I will
You're a
second
history
that.
buff.
All right.
I will second that.
Okay.
Need a
Very
motion.
good.
Everybody say
Before I start, do you consider yourself a smart fella?
Depends on the subject.
I always do until about this time every Thursday. And then it gets pretty tough.
I say that, and this week was my dad's birthday.
Oh, yeah.
He would, where he's still living, he would have been 80.
Oh, wow.
That was that was yesterday.
Do you have one of his riddles to share?
I do.
Okay.
Well, it wasn't really a riddle. It's one of those that you say real fast.
Okay.
You just continue to repeat.
Okay.
I'm a smart fella.
Uh-huh.
I'm a fella smart. So just keep saying that real fast.
Which one of us is going to do it?
No.
I'm a smart fella. I'm a fella smart. I'm a smart fella. I'm a fella smart. I don't know.
Very good.
Is it just a tongue twister, or is it like
if you keep going,
or does it turn into something else?
Yeah, you just keep getting faster and faster.
Okay, I'm not going to do that here because I don't know what this is going to turn into.
Yeah,
but if I had $1, and this is for your dad, if I had $1 for every time I've asked somebody how far you can walk into the woods,
yep,
I wouldn't be here doing this for free.
That's one of the best ones.
Do you remember that
I
one?
forgot that one. Yeah.
Do you remember the answer?
I can't remember the answer.
Halfway.
That's what I was thinking halfway.
Yeah.
I think about that a lot, actually. I think about that a lot. So anyway,
All right,
there's a little memorial.
There you
for
go.
Dad.
There you go. Just think of that while you're reading these and consider yourself a smart fella.
Yeah.
So, all right. History.
Benjamin Franklin. No?
That's the only one we were missing, wasn't it?
Wouldn't that be funny if that's what it was? So, all right. What was the name of the Argentine cruiser sunk after a British attack during the Falklands War in 1982?
1982.
The what war?
Falklands.
Oh.
You know.
Yeah, that one.
That one.
Not to be disrespectful of that war or anything. No, I don't know the answer to that one.
Okay.
No, I
Do you want to guess?
Boat.
I mean,
The name of the
you were so confident going for history. I don't
know about that. The Falkland cruiser.
The Argentinian.
Not even close.
No.
General Belgrano.
No, okay. Well,
So
That was way out
I
there.
feel like that was we were doomed from the beginning.
okay. So general, science, geography.
Thought we were staying in history.
Yeah. Can you read?
I can redo.
Yeah.
So-
See if we can get history back.
To shame ourselves.
Yeah. So
See if history shows back up here. Ding,
it
ding,
does.
ding,
Here it
ding,
goes.
ding, ding, ding.
Okay. When did Sid Vicious join the Sex Pistols?
Oh, 19. It's a year, I would assume, is what they're looking for.
It is a year. You are correct.
1972.
Close, but no. You're in the right decade.
Give me $1, Bob.
You're in the right decade.
I'm gonna
It's
say
later.
76.
So close. 77.
Oh, man. Okay.
All right.
They're one of those bands that I thought maybe, been around a lot longer than you thought. Anyway.
Okay. Which American revolutionary figure was a philosopher?
Philosopher. Was it Benjamin Franklin?
Mm-mm.
No.
I think it could have been
John Adams?
John
No.
Hancock.
No.
Okay.
Thomas Paine.
Thomas Paine.
Thomas Paine.
Doesn't get the credit he deserves.
He's one of those guys that had a business named after him, wasn't he? Wasn't there a business or a company named Thomas Paine?
I don't know. There's one named after John Hancock.
Well,
Yeah.
Ben Franklin.
And
There's been a lot of companies like that. So,
Give us one more.
yeah. Let's see if we can.
I am refreshing.
Should
All
we
right.
get off history?
So, you said history. So
I know.
Here we go.
Can't
Here
go
we
back
go.
now that the boat's singing.
Oh, it is.
You gotta go
sinking,
down
but it
with
is
it.
fast.
You got to go down with it.
What car did Chevrolet design the Camaro to compete with in 1966?
Mustang.
For sure.
The Mustang.
Yeah.
First year the Mustang was made.
First year. What
It's
year
a
did you
trick
say that was?
question.
66.
It's a trick question.
It's a trick question. Well, then I'm not going to answer it.
64 and a half, I believe. Was the first
64 and a
Mustang.
half?
Yeah. It was a half year. I dated a girl in high school who had a vintage Mustang. 66 or 67, I think. Yeah.
Interesting.
But you know,
I was obsessed with those old Mustangs when I was a kid.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they were very cool.
Very.
Very cool. All right. Well, that was pretty fun.
That was tough.
History did not treat us well
No,
today.
that was a terrible decision.
Well, I don't know. I felt inspired, and then here we go.
Inspiration hit me.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. All right. Well, listen, that wraps up the news for this week. Thanks for following along with the Arkansas AgCast. We're grateful for you taking the time to watch and listen.
Yeah, remember you can catch new episodes of the show every Thursday afternoon. Find video episodes on Facebook and YouTube. Listen to the audio version wherever you listen to podcasts.
And make sure to subscribe and leave us a review when you have a few extra minutes. The Arkansas AgCast is brought to you by the Arkansas Farm Bureau. I'm Jason Brown.
And I'm John McMinn.
And we'll see you next week.